This is the Novation Summit, a 16-voice Bi-Timbral digital analog hybrid synthesizer that combines the power of two Novation Peaks in one instrument. It features high-resolution FPGA oscillators, analog filters and VCAs, digital effects, and supports subtractive, wavetable, and FM synthesis. Join me for a review as we take a deeper look at the Summit and its powerful and versatile sound design capabilities. So this is the Novation Summit. This is a fantastic modern digital analog hybrid synth, the flagship from Novation, and if you're familiar with the Novation Peak, it's essentially two peaks in one synth. So today, I'm very excited to be showcasing this synth to you. We'll do a bit of a walkthrough of the control panel here, listen to some sounds along the way, and I'll give you my final thoughts towards the end. So let's now just take a look at these sections a little bit more in depth. I'll start with the oscillator section. So oscillator 1. That's at 16 feet, 8 feet, 4, and 2. Now, there's obviously a triangle wave, sawtooth wave, and square wave. Now, what's fantastic with both the Peak and Summit is the wavetables that are on board. There's at least 42 wavetables, and that's available here under the More button. So you can scroll through these here. A number of different wavetables here. But what's fantastic with the Summit is that Novation actually gave us control to morph through the different wave shapes, including the basic waves, with the shape knob. And you can do that manually, as I've just done, with an envelope. Or with an LFO. In this case, LFO 1. So really great functionality there. And if we now start bringing in these other oscillators, oscillator 2 and oscillator 3, they can have their own footages. You can also adjust the pitch for each one, as well as detune them slightly if you like. And we have pitch control through default routings from mod envelope 2 as well as LFO 2. So if we use the mod envelope, or inverted. Okay, so that's the oscillator section at a basic level. Let's take a look here at the FM section. So unlike the Peak, this is exposed right on the front panel. Oscillator 3, modulating oscillator 1. We can bring in oscillator 1 modulating oscillator 2. Oscillator 2, modulating oscillator 3. Basically gives us noise. We have control over the the actual stereo spread for true stereo. A couple of different modes. All right, so that's sort of the basic FM section there. To the right of that is the mixer section here. So full control over the oscillator levels. Oscillator 1, oscillator 2 and 3. You also have a noise, white noise generator. And again, with OS 2.0, Novation's allowed us now to route noise as a source in the mod matrix to many different destinations, as well as in the effects mod matrix as well. So fantastic possibilities there. And there's ring modulation here. Really cool stuff. Lastly, there is a VCA control here for overall patch volume for the VCA. And that's also a destination, by the way, in the mod matrix. Now there's the filter section. We are currently in low pass mode. Let's bring in some resonance. It does self-oscillate. Some nice harmonics. Bandpass mode. As well as high pass. And lastly, dual mode. So with the dual mode, which is unique to the Summit, you actually get two 12 dB filters, which can then be frequency separated. And you can modulate that in the mod matrix with things like an LFO. So great for like formant-like sounds, and also the routings. There's a number of routings available here, which can be in serial and also in parallel. So I'll introduce some filter frequency separation manually, but I'm going to adjust that now in the mod matrix using an LFO. We could say high pass and low band pass. Or we can go into parallel routings. Low pass plus high pass. There is, of course, LFO1 depth, which is hard routed by default on the panel to filter frequency. Sine wave. Sawtooth. Square. As well as sample and hold. In addition, we also have an envelope depth control. also invert it. Now, another great feature in this section is the oscillator 3 filter modulation. So there's a hard wired routing here for oscillator 3 to route directly into the filter for some nice FM overtones. If we modulate this again with the LFO, we touched on the envelopes. Now, one thing I didn't mention, which again is on the Peak, but it's in a menu, you have to access it through the menu system, but on the Summit, Novation has been nice enough to allow us direct access to looping functionality for both the amp envelope as well as the 2 mod envelopes. So you can actually get custom LFO shapes here, so you can technically get 3 extra LFOs out of this section if you're not using the envelopes for other purposes. So for instance, with the amp envelope, and you can also set the number of repeats in the menus, but this goes into audio rate as well. Some more texture types of sounds. Really cool. Of course, you can also apply that to the mod envelope for the filter. Okay, so to the right of the envelopes is the LFO sections. So we just took a look at LFO1 affecting the filter. We also have LFO2, which is hard routed to the pitch, square, as well as sample and hold. You know, everybody's familiar with those sounds. But we also have, of course, audio rate LFO. So you get some nice textures if you want, noises, things of that nature. Okay, so that's LFO2 affecting pitch. You can get some great textures and things of that nature. Let's now look at the effects. There's a couple of effects here which are absolutely fantastic. Both the Peak and Summit have incredible effects running on the FPGA. And before we get to the digital effects, which is the chorus, the digital delay, and the reverb, let's take a look at the distortion. This is an analog distortion. That's really gnarly. Okay, so let's take a look at the chorus now. There's actually 3 different modes. There's 2-tap, 4-tap, and ensemble. So we'll bring this in. This is 2-tap. This is 4-tap. ensemble. So if you need more stereo width, you can use the chorus for that. And also there's a number of functions in the menu for the chorus to adjust things like feedback, get some nice flanging effects. And this is just the regular chorus. As of OS 2.0, there's new chorus modes. So that's regular chorus, there's a flanger on board. And lastly, there is another mode called flanger, P-H-L-A-N-G-E-R. And this is a combination of a flanger plus a phaser. So again, different options there. Let's look at the delay now. This can be synced to clock. For instance, if we enable an arpeggiator, there is another couple of modes in here. So this is the original mode, which was originally on the Summit and Peak, and as again, OS 2 update, and now OS 2.1, there's crossfed. As well as a dual mode. In addition, you can actually get some Carpus strong effects. So. Okay, lastly here, the reverb. The reverb on the Peak and Summit is absolutely fantastic. This is an insane machine, a perfect instrument for ambient when it comes to this reverb. You can actually also route external instruments into the effects. I'm not going to do that here today, but the effects on this synth are studio quality. I mean, they are absolutely fantastic, and this reverb is certainly part of that. This is only on the first level here. There's 3 different options which increase the room size. So level 2. Just listen to that decay. Beautiful. Level 3. is an absolute beast for ambient, as well as the peak. What's great about these effects, again, they can be routed in series and parallel, so that also opens up new chapters in sound design. We've been listening to this in parallel for the most part, so let's start with the different routings. Parallel to a delay into a reverb into a chorus. Hear that nice spacey phasing? That's awesome. Okay, let's try a different routing. Delay, chorus into reverb. Let's try reverb, delay, chorus. That's just one area of the effects. You can also modulate the effects using global LFOs and other parameters within the effects mod matrix. There's 4 different slots. So for instance, we could have the reverb being modulated by an LFO. How cool is that? Okay, so we've looked at the effects, we've looked at the amp envelopes, the mod envelopes, looping, the mixer, the filter, the oscillators, the FM. There's also a couple other components here. The arpeggiator. We have octaves, all the way up to 7 octaves worth. It's quite high. We have different tempos, obviously. We have gate control. And we also have different rhythm types in terms of the patterns themselves. And we also have different types, so up, down, up and down, up and down 2, as played, random, and chord. So, lots of different options here with this ARP. We also have a glide. And we also have different voice modes. So this is currently poly mode. There's a mono mode, mono legato mode, a mono 2 mode, etc. So lots of different features in this area. And of course, in the top above the screen is where you access all the different menu parameters for oscillator, for envelopes, for LFOs, for the ARP and the clock, the modulation matrix, we haven't even looked at that, the voice and the filter settings, the effects, which we did look at some of the routings and whatnot, and of course, FX modulation matrix. There's 4 slots. So very fully featured in this area, sort of utilities and things of that nature. The main feature of this synth, which we haven't even touched on yet, is the multi-mode. This has just been looking at crafting a single patch or just tweaking as you go on a single sound. So if we now enable the multi-mode, you can see that it lights up here on the left. A is in blue, B is in orange, and both together is in white. So you can control each layer independently. You can edit each layer independently, or you can edit them simultaneously. There's also different modes, the layer mode, the split mode, and the dual mode. So if I say A layer in dual mode, everything's in blue, the voices are in blue, the mod wheel and the pitch are in blue. Any tweaks I do here only affect that layer. Whereas if I go to B, it's completely different. And I can split the keyboard. And here's the split point. Or I can say, you know what, I want to play both of these sounds layered together. Right? And I can obviously also put them both in white, which means these controls will now control each layer together. So a single set of controls for both layers. So if we look at these animate buttons, this is also on the Peak, but depending on how the patch is programmed, these give you also additional modulation capabilities. You can route a number of functions to these animates, and so have the ability to change the sound very drastically just by holding these down. And there's also a hold option for these. Depending on what the sound designer has used them for, you can really get really crazy with those. And of course, you can have things like an ARP running on the lower layer or the upper layer, whatever you like. We can go to the B layer and start another ARP. Just jam on top. Or say together. So lots of possibilities here with this section. It's quite easy to use and really helpful. Okay, so that's basically the synth in a nutshell. I haven't dived deep into every menu and feature and function. There's so much here, but I just wanted to give you a very high-level overview. Let's now take a listen to some patches and hear what this thing is capable of and some of the presets that come with it and things of that nature. And then I'll come back after that and I'll give you my final thoughts. Okay, so hopefully you guys enjoyed those sounds. They were basically presets and patches that come with the synth. At this point, I wanted to talk about my final thoughts in terms of what I like about the synth, what I don't like, and sort of wrap things up from there. So first of all, what do I like about this synth? It's got 16 voices. So if you're a Peak fan, if you have a Peak, or if you've considered getting the Novation Peak, this is double the polyphony. 16 voices, gives you a lot to play with, especially for long release times, and really reduces the note stealing with long releases. So fantastic to have 16 voices here available, especially in the single mode. The Bi-Timbral mode is essentially 2 complete peaks. Each layer has a full set of controls, full effects, full mod matrix. So that really opens up a ton of different sound design options that go far beyond what one peak could do. You're really getting 6 oscillators in double mode, depending how you program it, plus a 32 slot mod matrix, essentially. I mean, the possibilities are really staggering in terms of sound design. The effects on the synth, absolutely stellar. Especially the reverb. Really love it. As well, the effects routing capabilities, the different modes that are available. The effects mod matrix to actually modulate the effects. Again, just giving you a lot of options. The controls, the control surface, the knobs, the ability to just start crafting sounds without a ton of menu diving. Just get going, and that's all here. The Peak obviously has a lot of knobs as well, but there is a lot of functions that are still behind some menus, which thankfully the Summit has exposed. The ARP functions, the voice functions, the FM functions, the looping functions, the global LFO 3 and 4. These are on the front panels on the Summit. They are not on the Peak in terms of front access. Really speeds up your sound design again. The custom wavetables, I mentioned that there's tons of wavetables on here that come with the synth, but you know, through various updates with Novation components, online software, you can create your own custom wavetables. You can import wavetables into this synth, and that is a fantastic feature because not all synths allow you to actually modify the internal wave shapes in that regard. Lastly, the support and firmware updates. Novation is very well known for supporting their gear, for their music equipment, their instruments, and they've supported this synth, they've supported the Peak, they've supported things like the Bass Station 2, etc., and many others over many years. And I'm very thankful for that, and they are known for having stellar support, and I'm hopeful that they will continue to support this synth and the Peak, of course, with future updates. And I've already submitted a list of suggestions and enhancements I'd love to see for a firmware 2.2 and beyond. So hopefully some of those can be implemented. My point is that Novation is very well known for supporting their instruments, and I'm very impressed with that. So on the pro side, yeah, lots to really be excited about, in my opinion. Now, on the con side and things I don't enjoy as much. First of all, the screen placement. For me, it is kind of out of the way a little bit. It's to the left. It's not horrible, but I personally would have preferred to have that screen centered. Now, there's nothing we can do about that. It's the hardware. It is, it's already built. You can't change it. But I just find visually, when I'm looking at the synth, it would have been nice to have that screen centered and sort of move some of these functions perhaps over here. Can't change it. It is what it is. It's just an observation. So the wavetables that are on board, yes, there's a number of wavetables. There's at least 42 or so. However, I do find a lot of them have a similar sort of sound, similar timbral spectrum, whatever you want to call it. That can be obviously negated now with the custom wavetable, so you don't have to rely on those as much as you might have in the past. But I just find that there's not as much variance as I would have liked. The mod matrix, I would say just a few minor things there. There's definitely some destinations that I would love to see available in a future firmware update. And like I said, I've already submitted my suggestions to Novation. I don't have those in front of me at the moment, but there's things at times when I'm programming the synth and the peak where it's like, oh, I just wish that I could have done this or that. So hopefully they can add more. One thing I will say is it would be fantastic to be able to modulate a mod slot with another mod slot. That would be so cool. I think, the Polybrute can do that, I believe, and a couple other synths out there, but that would be fantastic if they can implement that in the firmware. It would just really open up a lot more possibilities. There is something in the multi-mode workflow. Again, a suggestion to Novation I've already submitted, but I know others have brought this up as well. I couldn't find a way to copy a layer to another layer. For instance, when I had a situation where I was in the dual mode and I was designing a patch on layer A, after about an hour, it's like, okay, I like this patch. I'd like to now copy that to layer B in the multi-mode, obviously. I couldn't find a way to do that, and that was kind of a frustration. So hopefully they can implement something like that for the multi-mode. It would really speed up workflow in terms of copying patches at any point in time between different multi-layers. The ARP is great, especially the new enhancements they've made with the chants. There is no way that I've come across to save, and this is for the Peak as well, there's no way to save user patterns because there is no sequencer. Again, I would love to have that capability. I did make a suggestion about that. If they could add that to the end of the ARP menu, 2 pages, for instance, for a very basic sequencer to record some notes. You can just play them in or put in rests using some buttons here on the left of the screen and with the keys, and then record and then play them back using the functions here. That'd be amazing. It doesn't exist. It would be nice to be able to save user ARP patterns or basically a sequencer pattern. And lastly here, as I control the dry level, if you just want to have 100% wet effects, and you bring down that dry level, you lose all patch volume. It's not like that on the Peak. Again, I don't know if it's a firmware bug or is it a hardware design decision, but it would be, if it's possible, to fix that or change it in the firmware so it is like the Peak, where you can have 100% wet without having to reroute effects or wet effects out the auxiliary into your mixer or whatnot. That would be awesome. So those are sort of the things I don't like about the synth. A lot of them are fairly minor. Some of them are a lot of wish list items that I would love to see just improved in a future firmware update. So hopefully some of it is resolvable. But this is overall, in terms of my final thoughts, this is really an excellent, truly an excellent modern digital analog hybrid synth in terms of sound design capabilities, in terms of bi-timbrality possibilities. And you know, there's just so much you can do here. It's really staggering when you think about it. 32 mod slots across both layers, 6 oscillators to use. Absolutely incredible possibilities. It's just a very fast, friendly synth to get to know. I think if you're a beginner, you can definitely get started on the Summit or on the Peak, for that matter. They are great synths to learn synthesis on, but when you get more intermediate or advanced, the capabilities are there to let you access that deeper functionality as you need. It's not overwhelming. It's not like you need the manual at every step, and that's very important. It's just fast, it's easy, and it's fun. So I really enjoy that with the Summit. As well, the importing of those custom wavetables really extends this basically indefinitely in terms of oscillator types. So, you know, that's something to really consider when you're looking at a synth. You're not just limited to what's on board. There is so much more that you can do on your own and create your own oscillators. Like, that is so cool. So at the end of the day here, you know, this is a very well supported product. The software is well supported. The firmware updates have been coming. Hopefully there's going to be more in the future. Love to see more in terms of sound design options, mod matrix, destinations, sources, all that stuff. And it's really, you know, if you like the sound of the Peak and the Summit, and you like digital analog hybrid synths, this is near the top. This is one of the best options in terms of bi-timbrality, effects, programming capabilities, FM, wavetable, subtractive. Like, it's all in one package here, and it's really 2 Peaks on steroids. So that's about it. That's all I have to really say at this stage. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this walkthrough and review. I know it was a long video. I did a lot of talking, but there's a lot to cover with the Summit and also the Peak, of course. But thank you very much for watching today. Really appreciate your time. And please leave a comment, like, subscribe, tap the bell. Let me know what you think about the Novation Summit, about what you just watched and heard. Love your feedback. And that'll wrap things up. And so I'm going to bid you farewell. And we shall see you next time.